r/AskReddit. What terrified you as a kid that isn't scary now? Looking at mirrors in the night. Thought they would become haunted in the dark. I'm 21 and I'm still scared to look in a mirror at night. I don't want to know what's behind me in the dark. And now I'm scared of mirrors again. Apparently if you stare at a mirror in the dark long enough you start hallucinating, your face contorting. In fact, there are a lot of weird things your eyes do in the dark. A lot of things your brain/eyes do in the dark tricks you, and your brain creates faces and other things out of thin air that aren't actually there. It's probably why a lot of monster stories were created by early man. When I get freaked out in the dark, or see a passing shadow or something, I recall Star Wars. Your eyes can deceive you, don't trust them. Asking my grandpa a question. Man, was he intimidating to talk to as a kid. Now I love talking to him when I can. That's awesome that he's still around for you to talk to, then. I wish I'd talked to both of my grandpas more. Honestly, I can relate so much. My grandpa now has Parkinson's and his vocal cords can't move as much, so it's extremely hard to understand what he wants to say. Conversations don't come as easy for him now, so he mostly listens. I wish I wasn't so intimidated as kid. Paint. I thought if you got it on you, it would never come off, since it never came off of the walls. When I was 13, my parents let me paint my room lime green. I painted myself, snuck out, and stood outside my friend's window to scare her. Almost gave her dad a heart attack. I wasn't even allowed to finish my room. It's still half green. Was not being allowed to finish painting your room a punishment for painting yourself? I could see their parents being so dumbfounded and upset they just took the paint away and it never got finished. There was a huge abandoned windmill in our neighborhood that once pumped water from the river. At random, the windmill blades would start to turn at night, never in the day. As kids that used to hang out nearby, it felt like the windmill was haunted as it came to life at dark hours. Probably a result of the metal cooling down after a day in the sun. Edit. Also an expiation for those asking. The day preventing rotation. Then at night when it cools and shrinks again, the release of tension cause it to spin. Running up the basement stairs after turning off the light. You know, that shit is still terrifying. I'm 35 and I still do this. If someone says they don't, I'm pretty sure they're lying. We all know, as soon as the lights go out, the mobs spawn. There's a particular, unsettling anxiety I feel walking up the stairs from my basement. It's specific to that scenario and it's awful. That worms would come out of my shower head. A snake would come out of the toilet and bite me while I was sitting on it. Especially in the middle of the night. I still check. I'm 32. I still check behind the shower curtain anytime I'm in a bathroom, my own, a friend's house, family's, a hotel, doesn't matter. The one time I don't check is the one time an axe murderer will be hiding there, and I'm not putting myself at risk to pretend I'm brave enough to pee without checking first. But what about that one time they are there? Will you just say, a hard MP in peace, lol? The video for Mitchell Jackson's Thriller. The very last scene where it appeared to be just a dream and Michael's looking normal, but then he turns around and stares at you with the werewolf eyes. That terrified me. My grandmother's wallpaper at night. Every time I have a ghost dream, it's always in my grandma's house and always in the room with the rose wallpaper. No idea why. This is creepy as hell, and I like it. My grandmother had an old wooden wardrobe and the pattern of the wood grain looked like a face. Did not like staying there. She also had a Virgin Mary statue that glowed in the dark. My brother hated it despite my gran trying to explain it's Jesus's mum, and she's not an evil ghost or something. Bees and wasps. To be honest, I still prefer they don't buzz around me, but when I was little I remained a safe 5 meters away from them. A bee landed on me while I was outside today. I just stayed calm and didn't move much, and he went along on his way. Meanwhile, wasps. I'm still terrified of wasps. I've only been stung once. It was by a bee in 4th grade when I was sitting down listening to the teacher. I wasn't moving in the slightest, but that little duck still stung me. Over a decade later I'm still terrified of them. My mum gave me advice as a kid that if a wasp comes near you, rather than run away, you should just stay very still. So, the next time a wasp buzzed round me, I did as she said. It then very kindly flew onto my face and decided to take a stroll. It flew off, then back again, and continued having a nice dance across my vulnerably exposed flesh. Meanwhile, I was terrified, eyes closed and breathing as quietly as I possibly could to avoid inciting its anger, but there's only so long you can stand a murder fly crawling across you with the promise of impending pain, so the 3rd time it blessedly left my face and continued to buzz around my head, I ran away penmouthed and screaming, shot into my house, and slammed the door. It was much more effective, and is the method I continue to use to this day. No one will ever dissuade me otherwise. Flushing the toilet. Did you watch those bizarre commercials with the talking toilet in the early 90s that scared you as a kid too? No, I watched Stephen King's It, and I realize all pipes go to the same place, and if he could come out of the drain in the shower then he can also come out of the toilet. That's legitimate too. The beast from the Sandlet. Freaked me out back then, but now that I can see how low budget the dog looks, still an amazing movie by the way, I find it a bit less scary. Once I realized the kids were scared of a dog, I was so confused. As soon as I could hop fences I was jumping into yards to play with dogs. I have no idea how I'm alive. When I was a kid, for many years I had only seen the first half of the movie or so I didn't see the scene where the dog chases the kid through town. So I just assumed the beast was like a lion or something. Something genuinely terrifying. I saw the full movie when I was maybe 9 or 10 and saw it was just a dog and had no idea why I was supposed to be scared. Thunderstorms. I used to hide under the covers and could only run from the room between flashes. Now I will sit at the window and watch. I love a good thunderstorm now. All it took was a very weird 9-ish-year-old me to stand at the window during a big storm and yell things like, "Is that all you've got?" Yeah, kinda like Lieutenant Dan, but before I ever saw Forrest Gump. When I was a teenager I was home alone a lot, so when it would storm I'd run over to the neighbors. However, they never let anyone in their house, so he'd stand outside in the storm with me, so I wasn't alone. Stay in a house where I'm dry alone, or stand out in it. Yeah, I wasn't the smartest kid sometimes. Opening the shower curtain, I was sure there was some monster or murderer waiting for me behind it. I saw a funny tweet once saying something like, "Not sure what my plan was ever gonna be after I flung open the shower curtain and did find a murderer there." Get murdered. No plan required. The Bermuda Triangle. I've encountered it a lot less than I thought I would have. Same goes for quicksand. Because if you watch cartoons, quicksand is like the 3rd biggest thing you have to worry about in adult life behind real sticks of dynamite and giant anvils falling on you from the sky. Jesus randomly showing up during dinner. I thought he'd use the door. Clearly I was raised to fear the wrath of God. I have a reoccurring dream showing the second coming, and I'm not ready. Scares the crap out of me. Most likely to me falling out of my religion. The dark. Just kidding, I'm still a little bitch. I had to sleep with a night light or hall light or TV on my whole life. Then I just stopped. And now it can never be dark enough. I love hotels. A straight row of fully grown trees. Grew up in the desert. trees were around but not packed densely, and were mostly palover trees or palm trees. But there was a row of trees that looked like what I consider most would imagine typical trees look like. And that one row of trees was also in close proximity to a large prison. My brother told me that's where Mr. Budgety lived and where the escaped murderers would hide when they'd break out of prison. Oh yeah, did I mention we had a guy break out of prison and murder the town librarian when I was a kid? So, yeah. Tree lines. Nothing. Everything is 1,000,000 times scarier now than it was when I was a kid. Yeah, and if you're single, don't even get me started. I'm terrified to live alone because I'm not sure who will guard my house from intruders. Probably my gun and a big German shepherd. I recommend an armored bear. My bedroom as a kid was a den converted into a bedroom/laundry room, and one wall was covered in a black mirror with gold paint flecks. Very 70s. But at night the shadows combined with the dark glass and paint made me imagine faces, figures, etc. It really scared me, and I would line up my stuffed animals along my bed to protect me. I too was protected by a line of stuffed animals. The monsters didn't get me, so it must have worked.